somebody that can get something done because he's more worried about getting reelected. And it's really sad. I mean, again, I'm just disenfranchised in the fact that even as Republicans, we're not fighting for being conservatives and constitutionalists.
Republicans also have a really bad habit of winning and then not doing anything.
Right.
Exactly.
I fully expect that to happen again. I mean, I hope they prove me wrong, but they never have. So
no, and that's the same thing I say. I mean, we might take back Congress again, and Nancy Pelosi stayed another 2 years, and the reason why I believe she stayed is because even when we had the Congress, Senate, and the White House, we still couldn't get things done because she wouldn't let us. But yet, when we're out of power, we can't stop nothing. Why is that? Because she knows she can take and run the Republican Party. We're afraid that we'll hurt somebody's feelings. And to me, it's just a shame. I mean, this is a reason why we need strong Republicans. We elect people in a beauty contest, and again, anybody can put out there on their social media, their advertising, this is what I am, this is what I believe in. But that's not who they are. What we need to get to where we have debates, because, a debate lets people see how you're going to answer that question. I can tell you, when I ran, we had one forum we were at, and somebody asked a question, what do you think about NAFTA and the effect it's been on the United States? 3 of our Republican candidates didn't know what NAFTA was. Yet they can be our congressman because we don't actually vet people. It's a beauty contest.
That's pretty sad.
It's horrible.
Okay, gentlemen. All right, gentlemen, I'm about to get ready to start the show.
Let's roll, baby.
All right, here we go. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Story of America with me, your host DeAndre Pace, and co-host Rhett Williams. Today we have back with us Carl Boyanton, who was one of the Republican candidates for the 4th District of Mississippi. We've got a lot of interesting developments come from Mr. Boyanton that we're going to be talking about today. But without further ado, let's let everybody introduce themselves. My co-host Rhett, obviously, you start off, and then we'll let Mr. Boyanton introduce himself to our guest.
Right. Well, I'm the co-host of The Story of America with Pace and Williams. If you watch the show, you already know who I am, Rhett Williams.
And Mr. Boyanton, just let everybody know a little bit about you and what brings you back on our show today, because I know we have some interesting stuff to talk about.
I'm Carl Boyanton. I was a candidate for the 4th District here in Mississippi. My goal was to get rid of Palazzo because he's a career corrupt politician, which worked. And the day the primary was over, we started a Super PAC called Conservative Candidate Caucus. So that's what we're about now. We're working on trying to get true conservatives elected to every office throughout the state of Mississippi.
I think that's a wonderful idea. As a matter of fact, I would love to know how to get involved in that, because I think it's really crucial for South Mississippi, really for the rest of the country as well.
Right. Well, we're going to start with Mississippi, but we actually would like to expand it to the country because, again, we have to start from the bottom down. We need to get people elected. And a big thing about this caucus is our education system. We need to, here in Mississippi, we'll start at it, is to get student council, or not student council, but school board members elected that are going to teach our kids to get an education. We want to put education over indoctrination. We need to have our kids be the smartest kids in the world, to try to start teaching them about, that the thing that defines you is your race, your sex, or your social standing is what we got to get away from. We need to teach kids
Absolutely.
math, science, history, civics, stuff that they can actually become successes in, instead of trying to get them to worry about that this kid over here has more money than you, so you don't have a chance to be successful. That you need to put somebody down to be better. No, we're all the same. And in school, we should all be the same, and we should encourage our school systems to actually make our curriculum harder, not easier. People are going to fail. But you know what? We also need to push tech schools and other opportunities out there, besides just telling our kids, you got to get through high school, you got to go to college. That's not always going to be your pathway to success.
Absolutely. So Mr. Boynton, first question that I have for you is, we have successfully managed to unseat Palazzo, which I think everybody agrees is a good thing. However, now we have the possibility of our new representative in Mike Ezel. He one of your competitors for the seat. From what I was able to garner from Mike Ezel from the forums that I was able to go to where he was there, I'm a little bit concerned that he might be more establishment than Palazzo even, and I'm more so concerned that he might be a little bit war hungry. But do you believe overall that Ezel is going to be a much better candidate than Palazzo?
Yes, I think he's going to be a way better candidate than Palazzo. And the reason why I supported Ezel so much is he's a super nice guy. When we were all campaigning, we all got together and said, hey, whoever wins, Palazzo has to go. And I've spent a lot of money to get Palazzo out of office. And the main reason is because, you know what? We deserve better than a career corrupt politician. Mike Ezel is a great guy. I love him to death. But I can tell you from day one, and I've told him, if he strays, I will be the first person out there to lambaste him. I will be the first person against him, because you know what? We made promises on the campaign trail, and I intend to make sure that whatever he promised, he follows through with. And again, well, needless to say, the best person for Congress would have been me. I've got a background in business. I can contribute on day one in every aspect of Congress. I have a lot of common sense, and I'm a multi-position person. I'm not a one-position person. Mike Ezel's a nice guy. I really like him. I hope him success. I'm always afraid of any of these guys. And again, Mike has come from 42 years of government work that hopefully doesn't fall into the same trap that a lot of these congressmen do, is the fact that the day when you get there, you're looking to get reelected. Myself, I always told everybody, if I get elected, I'm not looking to get reelected. I'm looking to get elected. What I promise, I will follow through with. I will be the anti-politician out there. Now I just hope Mike Ezel follows the same path that he told us he would. Because again, I will be his biggest critic. And like I say, we're good friends. I love Mike Ezel. Of course, I told him from day one, you're way too nice of a guy to be a congressman. But he always said, well, you haven't seen my bad side. I said, well, nobody has. So I hope I get to see it when you're in Congress. So we'll see what happens. I believe in giving everybody a chance. He won. If no difference had Palazzo won. And I can tell you, I'm glad he didn't, because from day one, I'd have been right back at him trying to get him out again. Because I'm one of those kind of guys that believes that going to Congress should be an honor. It's not about the money. It's about going there to make a difference. Had I gotten there, I'd have been out in front of the cameras and the microphones every day to come out and say, like, if we're in session and I'm not liking what's going on, I'm going to go out in front of the cameras every day and say, look, this is what these idiots want to do. This is crazy. Spend all this money we don't have. I don't agree with that. Again, it's the kind of people we need in Congress today are people that are going to go out there and actually fight, not so much worried about getting reelected. And that's the biggest problem. I was told from Chris McDaniels a couple of years ago, he says, if you get elected, the leadership are going to take you in the back room and say, look, you campaigned against this, but you're going to have to vote for it. But don't worry about it. We're going to get you reelected. And I couldn't wait for that conversation because I would tell them, like I tell everybody else, no, I ran on this. If I don't get reelected, that's on me. But I'm going to do what I said I came here to do. And if you don't like it, that's too bad. You don't want to put me on a committee? I'm okay, because I'm committed to the fact that I campaigned on this. I am not going to do it. I'm not going to vote for what you want me to because you want me to, and you're going to get me reelected. I'm going to vote the way I campaigned. And unlike other politicians, which I'm not a politician, I'm a businessman, I would not bend at all to their will.
That's encouraging to hear. The things that you said about Mike Ezell, because it was, for me and Rhett, it was rather difficult to find much information on Mr. Ezell. But here's another question in relation to that. Each one of the candidates that are up there had committed to some form of term limit. Do you believe that Mr. Ezell will follow through with that?
Well, I believe he will. But again, the devotion part of it, Stephen Palazzo was for term limits when he got there. But if you actually want to get term limits passed, you have to be passionate about it. You have to go, not just submit that bill, but you've got to go get a coalition together that are also like-minded. My position was, when I got to Congress, I was going to meet with every congressman, congresswoman, and senator and say, look, you all support term limits. How do we get there from here? The 1994 term limit bill, to me, was a perfect bill. You get 12 years in Congress, 12 years in Senate, and it doesn't happen for 12 years. So I can't imagine myself sitting with all these people and saying, like, look, you're exempted from this. Not only will you finish out the term you got, you'll be able to get another 12 years in Congress. And if you want to move forward, get 12 years in Senate. So you can spend your whole life in politics if you want. But right now, you can actually vote for this bill. And in 12 years, we will have a term limit bill. And you can be going down in history that you helped pass this. And I can't imagine explaining this to congressmen and congresswomen that I couldn't get a majority to take and vote for it. Mike Ezell, I'm not sure what his plan is for it. I know he supports term limits. But this isn't something that you can just passively say, I support term limits, and think something's going to happen. You have to be passionate about it. You have to go out and you have to force the issue. You got to get people on your side. You have to work for it. I hear so many people say, well, you can't get term limits passed. No, you can't get nothing passed if you're not passionate and you don't want to support it. You've got to get people on your side. You've got to push it. It's not going to happen if you don't do it. It's Mike Ezell. I hope he does. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to hope he follows through with his promises. I hope he goes with everything he does with a passion.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. So this new Super PAC, the Conservative Candidate Caucus, can you give us a little bit more intel on how you came up with the idea, and what are you expecting to change down here on the coast?
Well, I came up with the idea actually during the campaign. I was thinking about doing this during the campaign. It's like, we need actually a grassroots movement to, and like I said, education is one of the big things. We need to take back education. We need to start electing local, state, federal politicians that actually are conservatives. The state of Mississippi is full of rhinos. I could list them, but it would be nice. But, they get to even the state House of Representatives, the state Senate, and they forget what they went there for. The idea of the PAC is we'll start like I said, school boards. We're going to want people elected to school boards throughout Mississippi that believe in giving our kids the best education, not miseducation, not revised history, not trying to pit our kids against each other between race, gender, social standing, but to give our kids an education like we used to have, where, you were concentrated on math, science, history, civics. We need to get back to that. We need to encourage our school boards to start working on tightening up the curriculum, making it harder, making students that excel, giving them the ability to excel more. Instead of what we're trying to do right now is, well, if you're a smart kid, we want to dumb you down because we don't want to have an advanced class because you're going to hurt the other kids' feelings. But, life is hurting your feelings. We're not all equal. Some people are better at things and other people are better at other things. But, you can't take and hold people back that are super smart. There's a kid that is at Georgia Tech. He's 12 years old and he's getting a degree in, I think it's nuclear physics or something. Now, would you want to hold that kid back? Because, well, you're smarter than everybody else, but you're going to make this guy feel bad. So no, you need to hold yourself back. And you know what the funny part is? He's a black kid. So now you're telling a black kid that, hey, we need to hold you back. I don't care if you're black, white, red, green. If you're excelling in something, we need to help you excel. Not say like, well, no, you're too smart for everybody else, so we want to dumb you down to everybody else. No, we need kids that excel. Now, we have opportunities. We should have technical schools. I think it's Australia where after you get through middle school, they start working on whether you're going to be a candidate to go to college, or if you're going to be a candidate to be a carpenter, a plumber. I can tell you, I didn't like school. I liked work. I'm self-taught in finance. I ran $1 billion company. I can look at a profit and loss, and I can tell the CPAs where they screwed up. But you know what's funny is I didn't go to college. I'm self-taught. But again, it doesn't take a college education to be smart. We need to incentivize our kids to utilize what they have. Not everybody needs to go to college. And as you can well tell, only 26% of the people that go to college utilize the degree they got. So we're telling our kids to go to these super expensive schools, get themselves in debt, and then go to work at Taco Bell. That's stupid.
I absolutely agree with you on that, because one of the biggest things that I've been going around saying to people is, as like you said, college isn't for everybody.
No.
There are trades out there that you can go to Job Corps, for example. You can go to Job Corps, zero debt, finish up that in 2 years. So if you're good enough, maybe a year, and be able to go out there and start an entry-level job making $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
and be good at what you like, at what you're doing. And if you enjoy what you're doing, that's even better, because then you can go on from there, get a certificate, become a master electrician, a master plumber, or and be able to create your own company, generate millions of dollars,
Right.
and you know, and you will never have to deal with the debt. And then you go take a look at our colleges right now. One of the biggest problems that I see on the college campuses is that there's so much crap that you are forced to take
Yeah.
that you are not interested in, that doesn't help you at all. And then you take a look at the actual graduates and the degrees in which they're graduating in, completely useless in the world of
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And those who do go get a degree in business, for example, they go and they get a degree in business administration, thinking that that's going to be, you know, all hunky dory. It's going to be the great thing for them. But the fact is that their business degree is worthless. It's just a piece of paper, because
Yeah.
you haven't taken the steps forward to go get certified in anything. You haven't worked under somebody that has tenure and experience that
Right.
can get you to those extra pillars. And so you go out in the world with this degree that you got for a 4-year bachelor's degree in business administration, and you don't know anything about business. And largely because the person who's teaching you doesn't know anything about business.
Yeah.
All they know is what's in the textbook. None of them have ever actually run a business.
Yeah.
None of them, it's a little bit different when you go to law school, because most of the teachers there have practiced law. But
Right.
but not everybody is going to be a lawyer, and that's an oversaturated market anyway.
Yeah.
But you take a look at at financing. I mean, everybody has the opportunity to invest, to become an investor, to become a financial coach or financial advisor, but nobody understands how to get into that market, or they are intimidated by that market because they don't understand the data behind it, and they miss out on an opportunity to better themselves because that information isn't being presented to them in school. And largely, uh, as you mentioned earlier, we've sort of removed that course from the electives for our kids in junior high and high school. The civics courses, the home ec courses,
Right.
how to balance a budget, how to how to um how to write a check, how um to check your books.
Well, home economics, we went away with that, because, oh, that's sexist, we got away from shop because, well, somebody might get hurt. The interest is too high. Again, we've got to this point where it's just like you just said, in college, you got to take and get a degree. And if you're going to be a CPA, why do you got to take these classes that have nothing to do with being a CPA? I mean, it's all about the money. And it's like anything I always say, it's, most everything is about the money. And, if you're getting an interior design degree, you're probably the most you're going to make is $35,000 a year. That degree can cost you $50,000 to $100,000. So myself personally, I can put it on my Facebook page or on my website, is that, I believe we should have degrees that the cost is relevant to what you can make. So if you're going to get an interior design degree, well, you shouldn't have to pay $100,000 for that degree. If the most you're going to make is $35,000, you shouldn't have to pay more than $35,000. 1 year's salary, to me, would be fair. If you're going to be a lawyer, okay, well, you've got an opportunity to make $1 million a year, even though the average pay for a lawyer is a lot less than that. But you should pay a little bit more to become a lawyer, pay a little bit more to become a doctor. But, when you're doing degrees for stuff that, you really, even business degrees, most people get business degrees because, well, I have a bachelor's in business, but it has nothing to do with they use it for when they get out of college. If you're going to be a psychologist, well, you definitely got a degree that you're going to have to use in psychology. But a business degree goes across so many spectrum of business that, there's no guarantee you're going to leave there and be able to use your degree. And trust me, my daughters both graduated college. One of them got a master's and the other one's going to get her master's here next month. But all their friends, which we're friends with, None of those kids are using the degree that they got. Engineering degrees, psychology degrees. Because if you get a bachelor's in psychology, there's really nothing you can do with that. Because as it is nowadays, it's getting to where a 4-year degree doesn't mean a whole lot. If you don't get a master's after that, it doesn't make you any money. My daughter is a journalist, smart as heck. She got her bachelor's degree in an honors college, then got her master's degree at ASU. And after spending 6 years in college, she started out as a journalist at $60,000 a year. You could be a plumber's assistant and make $60,000 to $80,000 a year with no degree. So it's not valued as much as it used to be. And now, even after 3 years out of college, she's up to $80,000 with 3 jobs. Not just her job in journalism, she does other jobs to make that kind of money. So again, having a degree is great, but it just doesn't pay everybody what it should. My other daughter's got her bachelor's in psychology, top of her class. She's going to get her master's because she can't make money if she doesn't have a master's degree. But unfortunately, you used to be able to come out of high school with an education that you could use. You would be in senior and you'd be in calculus or trigonometry. And they didn't care if you passed or failed. They taught the class. You had to pass or fail on your own. And they didn't care if you failed. You had to do the work. We need to get back to that, to where people have to do the work. You can't just pass people because, you've been here for a year. We need to get rid of you. Chicago, their school system, 51% of the students that get their high school diploma have a 1.0 GPA. What good is that going to do a kid? What college are you going to get into with a 1.0 GPA? Nowhere.
Absolutely. And
It's just schools have become a warehouse to get the kids through. And unfortunately, this is what I always preach about. It's because of the Democratic arm, the Department of Education, and the Democratic arm of the teachers union. They don't care to teach anymore. All they care about is making sure you get through their school. And they don't care if you can't read, write, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, in inner city schools, you got kids graduating that can't read or write.
Yeah, that's true.
How is that good for America? It's not. How's it good for the people?
70% can't. 70% graduates in Baltimore, can't read or write at grade level.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
How are you?
This is what we have to change, and this is one of the things the caucus, the conservative candidate caucus I put together. This is one of the things we really want to address. We want to take back our educational system. Of course, we want to elect lawmakers that will go do something about it, which we're working on that right now, trying to get rid of some rhinos and Democrats and stuff. And we're endorsing, and again, I don't care if we lose an election. I'm going to endorse the true conservative in the election. So if we endorse somebody and they lose, I'm not sad about that. And I might get bad press that the conservative candidate caucus lost 20 elections. But the thing is, we lost 20 elections supporting the most conservative person in the race. The establishment might not like that. But we're still going to support the most conservative person in the race. And I even told the candidate yesterday that, what we're going to look for when you get into office 2 years from now, 4 years from now, when you come up for re-election, if you're still not a conservative, we'll bring another conservative to run against you. We need people that are going to work for Mississippi, work for America. We don't need career politicians. We need people that are going to actually go there to get something done and not look to it as being a career. And like the young man I met yesterday, which is, again, I'm trying to encourage all young people to get involved, get out there and run. We don't need all 75-year-old people to run for Congress and Senate. We need young people with smart ideas and stuff, young conservatives and stuff. I was at the Republican Club the other day, and I actually mentioned that to everybody. I said, what are you guys doing to expand our party, to bring in young people, minorities? I said, I'm looking at our party right here. We're going to all be dead in 10, 15 years. Who's going to be at this meeting? Because everybody here is so old. We've got to fire up our base. We've got to get young people involved, excited about the fact that, as a conservative, we are actually the people that are going to save America. Democrats aren't, but we need young, true conservatives to get out there and push this message. We'll be gone, and it's going to be on you guys to get out there and make this message known. Because, these Democrats are leaving you guys the debt. Even Joe Manchin, who everybody says, oh, Joe's a great guy and stuff. Well, Joe Manchin, him and Biden are working on a $500 billion to $1 trillion, another stimulus package, which we don't need. And what's that going to do? Raise our inflation. Who's going to be the recipient to have to pay for that? You guys. You guys, which I appreciate the heck out of the fact that you guys are actually out there giving a voice, because you guys should be more involved and try to get more people involved, more young people involved. Because again, we're leaving all this to you guys. I'll be dead before this thing hits. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to be paying our debt. 30-something trillion dollars and trying to add more to it. I mean, my God, we're killing our kids. You guys are going to be saddled with that debt. You guys need to be in the forefront. You guys need to be involved. You need to get more people involved. You need to come down to the Republican Club and come down and join us. So I'll introduce you guys down there, get you guys involved in it, get into the club hierarchy, become a board member, because again, it's your voice that's going to count more than anybody else's. We're older. I'm doing all I can. And I spent my whole life in business. I didn't give a crap about politics. It's only been the last few years, mostly when Biden got elected, that I said, this isn't going to work. We're spending our kids' fortunes. We're putting our kids in debt. And I have 2 daughters, and they don't even understand the fact that they're the ones going to pay that back. You're going to pay it back in taxes. You're going to we're going to use up every dime we got, because our government right now prints money like there's no tomorrow. Giving money to Ukraine. Hey, I'm all for Ukraine. I'm all for supporting. But that's Europe. We don't have, when I campaign, people ask me, well, what do you think about the infrastructure bill? I said, I would agree with it, except for we don't have the money. I said, as a business person, I can't go out and just say, I need this. Let me print the money out. No, we have to earn the money. Our government does not care about earning money. They print it and put it on your shoulders. You guys, they're going to have to pay it back. And unfortunately, when you've got our academia telling everybody that, oh, socialism's great, we need to put more money into people, we need to make everything more, even and stuff. Well, even means everybody's poor. We're saddling you guys with the debt. You guys should be on the forefront of trying to lead a charge to actually stop that. We're spending your future. And again, like I said, I love talking to you guys because, again, I love seeing people like you guys out there actually voicing your opinions and working to try to change something. But you got more to do, and again, I don't consider myself a Republican. When I identify myself as a patriot. a conservative, and then a Republican. Because the Republican Party, just like the Democrat Party, has left a lot of us. You know, I'm a conservative, and we've lost conservative values. A lot of this debt has done under Republicans. You know, we need people that are smart enough to go out there and say, like, well, you know, I can't print money for myself. How can we print money for the United States if we don't have it? Because like anything else, you take a loan out, somebody's got to pay for it. Well, these old career corrupt politicians, they won't be there. You guys will. So who's going to pay that back? Not me. I'll be long dead before it's due. You guys will still be around for another 50, 60 years. You guys got to take control of that. You guys have to start being on the forefront. I mean, I'm doing my part. I'm trying to put your voice out there. I'm trying to stop it for everybody. But it's you guys that really need to voice this and try to get this stopped. Because again, our children have been miseducated, and now they're flooded with misinformation on social media. So they really don't know what to believe. And what we need to believe is the fact that, you know, we need good, true conservatives and that understand what conservatism is to get out there and fight for you guys. I'm fighting for you guys. Had I got to Congress, and I might run again for something, I'm not sure yet, but if I do, I'd love to have you guys along with me. But again, we have to do this. Otherwise, to me, the Democrat Party is trying to destroy America. And as dumb as that sounds, I think what they think is that if they destroy America, they can rebuild it into this socialist utopia that they think they can, even though no socialist country has ever been a success. Our form of capitalism here in the United States has always been a success, has got more people, lifted more people out of poverty than all the other governments combined. But unfortunately, they don't teach that in schools. They're now teaching socialism is good. We have to change that. I'm going to do what I can. You know, this caucus here, this conservative candidate caucus, is to get people into our school districts that believe we need to go back to education. Education over indoctrination. It's the only way we're going to survive. Absolutely.
You know, I told Rhett when he told me about the Super PAC, I said, wow, I wasn't expecting that from you. I was expecting, I didn't think you were gonna bow out and not do something to leave an impact down here. But I wasn't expecting Super PAC, and I told myself I was really excited about this because, you know, me and Rhett, we do our show, and your other opponent, Mr. Brooks, he's come back on the show. He let us know that a lot of people that went to vote for him, they found out about it through our show. And I'm like, well, I didn't know we had that big of a voice. You know, we were doing this. And I told Rhett, you know, this is exciting for me because I want to figure out how we can get involved in making the change. And we had an interview with the chair of the Libertarian Party Sunday, I believe it was. Right. And I told Red, I said, you know, I had an easier time following the points of the Libertarian Party listening to Red than I did the chair of the Libertarian Party. Right. And I said, you know, the people that should be chairing these parties and being board members of these parties are people like Rhett and myself and other people like us that are able to give a message out there that's not so convoluted and confused, so it's easier to bring people into the fold. And I think what stops a lot of us is that a lot of us have this idea that the barrier for entry is much more monumental than it actually is. Right. And we don't actually do the research to figure out how we can get involved. And I said, well, we get this Super PAC. To me, it's a wonderful idea down here for the coast, because if we can get enough people involved, we have a real shot of being able to save our country.
Right.
And we're at a point where we're going to be coming across the point of no return sooner or later.
Yes, we
And
are.
and right now, I think we're on the precipice right now of losing our country or saving our country.
Yep.
And a friend of mine was talking about, we're encouraged. We got so many Republicans in office, and we're going to get this red wave. And I said, I'm encouraged by it too. But the fact is, it's not all of the Republicans that are getting elected are people that we can trust,
No.
and not not all of the Democrats people that we can trust. I mean, the Democrats, I don't even know how a person can register to a Democrat Party and still believe that it's the Democrat Party of JFK and FDR. And even then, JFK and FDR had some policies that I would not support. But you're 100% right with the Republicans, because I'm a registered member of the Constitution Party,
Right.
because the Republican Party, they have the people like me and Rhett, the people that do the research, the people that do the homework, the message is there. But for the average person, they have no idea what the
No.
message is.
No.
They feel excluded.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's up to you guys.
again,
You guys need to get this message out. I mean, you guys need to try to develop young people coming out and joining the party. And again, I would rather be in a conservative Republican Party. We're not that right now. I used to think I was a libertarian, but after I met a few of them, I'm not a libertarian. I have libertarian leanings, but when you look at what their actual philosophies are, I'm far from that. They want open borders. I'm not for open borders.
The problem with that is libertarians are so all over the place. One,
Well, they
and
are.
the next one are not going to. I think most of the Libertarian Party probably does not support open borders, but
their leaders.
there's a lot
That's
of
the
them that
biggest
are
problem.
outspoken that lead you to believe
Rand Paul.
some
Rand
things
Paul's
that,
a libertarian, but he's
Yeah.
actually a conservative.
well, the Mises
Libertarian.
Caucus just took over the Libertarian Party, and they're not for open borders or abortion or anything like that. They're more like Rand Paul
That'd be good.
type.
I mean, because that's what I thought. The reason I thought I was a libertarian is Ron Paul and Rand Paul. But when I met the libertarians here in Mississippi, they believed in open borders. I had discussions with them, and I said, "How can you believe in open borders?" Well, we have a country here. There should be no borders and stuff. And I said, well, do you realize that if we open our borders completely, you can see what happens right now. But I said, if we really open them completely and let everybody come in, we'd have 75 million poor people here. How would you survive 75 million poor people? We're going to be in trouble with the 2.6 million that crossed since Biden got elected that we know of. You can bet there's probably another 2 million gotaways. We're flooding our border with fentanyl. And I can tell you, I've been down there 20 times. And the sex trafficking. I was down there in El Paso, and across the Border Patrol told me, see those block houses over there? Those are rape houses. They take kids as young as 8 years old and rape them into submission before they traffic them over to America. Where are these kids going? They're here in America. They're doing it all the time. Like the guy told me, says, some nights you come here, you can hear them screaming over there. And I told him, said, anytime you want to go over there, I'll get my gun, I'll go with you. And if I got elected to Congress, I would go there. If I heard those screams, I'd say, we need to get our Navy SEALs here, go over and kill them, or I will go over there as a congressman and do it. I don't care if we cross borders or not. But right is right. We have to stop that kind of stuff. We need people that aren't afraid. And I can tell you, as myself personally, I'm not afraid. And again, libertarians, this isn't a good thing. Open borders. And again, probably different now, but like the guys I talk to, they hate police. We shouldn't have police. You police yourself. Well, I hate to tell you, but you police yourself. I mean, I don't see that as a viable option. We're going to go out shooting each other. I mean, I carry my gun. I'm going to protect myself. But if you believe in no police or nothing, I mean, I would believe we're going to have a lot of problems coming up. So that's why, I don't believe I'm a true full-blooded Republican, because I more identify as a conservative. I don't identify as a libertarian. I just identify as a conservative, actually as a patriot and then a conservative, because to me, we're losing America to these ideas that people are trying to kill America. You look at our cities right now. I mean, I just told somebody, I said, everybody's horrified, which they should be, where the shooting the other day, 30 minutes out of Chicago, 7 people died and 30 people were shot. 30 minutes south in Chicago, 68 people were shot and 10 people were killed that same weekend, just for a normal 4th of July weekend in Chicago.
I think on 4th of July day, it was 68 people shot. I think it was 10 people killed that day.
Yeah. Yes.
And the media doesn't cover it because it's not a white person doing the crime.
No. And I'm sad because I'm about as far from being a racist as possible. My wife's a minority. My best friend growing up was a black guy, took up for me all the time and stuff. I grew up dirt poor. Black churches actually used to bring us food because we were dirt poor. So I'm not the least bit of a racist. And to me, I look at these cities that let these gangs shoot and kill each other. Now, these black mayors, they're racist because they don't do anything about it. They don't do anything about it. A white person kills a black person. Well, we've got to throw them in jail. If a cop kills a black person, we got to throw them in jail. But we got to fix the problem where you're killing each other. Somebody's got to do something. Trump actually said, I can help you fix that in Chicago. And Rahm Emanuel is like, we don't want your help. So just let them keep killing each other. What solution is that? New Orleans is now the #1 murder capital in the United States per capita. New Orleans, I grew up there. But what's funny is I can go down there every weekend. I'm not worried about getting shot. That's the black person killing a black person. Nobody cares. What do you think of that? I mean, do you think it's okay that they kill each other left and right and we do nothing about it? The city does nothing about it. Nobody cares. 2-year-olds, 5 months old, 8-year-olds.
It's okay.
I know.
Yeah,
they die. We're talking a kid. I don't care if you're a black kid, a white kid, a green kid, or what. An 8-year-old girl dies in Atlanta in a crossfire. We do nothing about it. Oh, it's a black person killing a black person. It's okay. How? No, I can't cuss. How messed up is that?
We aren't supposed to cuss, but I do more than our fair share on the show. Rhett has to get on to me a lot of times, and I'm the owner of the show, and Rhett has to check me for my profanity usage.
Well, again, sometimes it's so discouraging. It's so disheartening.
Sometimes
that, an 8-year-old girl has to die, and what's been done since she died? Has anything changed in Atlanta?
Atlanta, the girl, she got shot. They burned down that McDonald's and she got shot through the back door. You had the kid in New York at his 1-year-old birthday party. Stray bullet comes through the fence and kills him. A man in New York was gunned down in front of his 8-year-old daughter while they were walking out on the streets in broad daylight. And nobody does. Then you had that case with the bodega up there in New York where he got put in jail for defending himself after these 2 thugs came up in there and ran a gun and stabbed him. And so he defended himself. He killed them. And nobody would blame him for it, but he's the one that's in jail with a $2 million bond. They later lowered it down to $50,000, and this family's going just about bankrupt getting him out, and he still has to face legal trouble. And
but where are our politicians out there calling this out, getting in front of these issues, actually going out there? I can tell you, if I was elected and the January 6th people were still in jail, I would be leading protests and trying to encourage more and more and more people to show up outside that jail for people that violated the Congress to still be in jail with no trial. That's not America. Just think if we had a Democrat in there holding them for a year and a half.
Especially with what just went on. I mean, after the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade, which we'll talk about in a moment,
Right.
you know, they went berserk. They took over the Capitol in Arizona.
Oh yeah.
Stormed the Senate. There's no insurrection here. It's mostly peace. They went back to saying mostly peaceful protests while fires have been around them.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they talk
going and
about
breaking the law
insurrection.
by going and protesting at the Supreme Court justice.
Now they got bounties on the heads of the Supreme Court justices' locations.
Yeah.
And what do you need a location for? Why are you paying people for the locations? That doesn't sound good to me. And no, the only people that are covering it with any real amount of scrutiny is Fox, and really the only one on Fox that really talks about the just the bloodbaths that happens is Hannity, because he scrolls the names all the time of the people that are being gunned down in our inner cities. One of the Fox correspondents, his younger brother was killed in Chicago just a while ago.
I watched that,
and it was so sad to see. But I mean, here at my apartment, I had a person get shot and killed a couple doors down a couple of weeks ago. Another shooting here at my apartment. They come up in there, there's kids up in there, and they're shooting off rounds at 2 o'clock in the morning. 30 rounds go off. Bunch of women downstairs shooting at each other. I hear one person saying they shot my cousin. And they come, next thing you know, you hear another 15 rounds go off. I called the police. They got here very quickly, but by the time they showed up, they had already fled the scene.
Right.
And we have all this stuff happening left and right, like it's championed in our for us, for blacks. This is what we are expected to have to deal with. And you're 100% right about the racism.
That's a Democrat problem.
It is.
You know,
and
they
I
won't
think
allow
this is their
Republicans to help. You know, when Trump wanted to help, no, we can't have Trump help. I mean, myself
I think
personally,
it's their plan.
well, it is. I think it is.
To
You know, it's the
try
reason
to get
why.
rid of it.
You know, I always say the thing is, you know, Democrats have been racist since day one. The Republican Party was put together from Democrats that were against slavery. And that's where the Republican Party came from in, I think, 1864. And yet,
I think
to this day, they call Republicans racist, and Democrats are the ones that are for the party. Yet Democrats, 60%, 66% of all abortions are on minorities. White Democrats white women Democrats go out and protest. They want to keep abortions free and safe.
not only that, but
it's
you see
against
what they
minorities.
They said that it makes it worse for blacks. It's better for the economy for blacks to have abortions. I'm like, what's going on here? Nobody talks about this. Nobody in the media talks about this.
No.
And it's 100% crazy. You know, since we're talking about Roe versus Wade, this is one of the things that encouraged me that we're on the right track. You know, Donald Trump, he may not have won his second term, but what he was able to do with these conservative justices that he's put in there, we now have probably the most constitutional Supreme Court we've ever had.
Yes,
in a long time. Really, probably since the turn of the century, because FDR.
The thing is, the main thing is
started
that
with
they're
the
sticking to
court
the
package.
Constitution. You know, it's not about being conservative. It's the fact that they're actually sticking to the Constitution. You know, Democrats don't like the Constitution. They want to change the Constitution. They think it's a living document that you can change at a whim and stuff. But, you know, I'm still flabbergasted today, the fact that this was written in 1776 and it's so all encompassing and is such a devout, smart document.
Right. And they didn't even have the
Computers.
they didn't have well, yeah, that, but they didn't have the historical context. They literally
Right.
just, they thought this up and they didn't
Yeah.
know if it was going to work or not.
And not just that,
They
they
had to,
covered every base. I mean, everything you could think of, they
They
covered.
really
yeah.
did, and I say that this is at least here on earth, because once we get to heaven, what Walter Williams used to say all the time is, if you get to heaven and you see a constitution there, you know you went to hell, because heaven doesn't have a constitution, because it's perfect. But
Right.
as far as down here on in the physical realm, the Constitution of the United States is perhaps the single most humanly perfect document that's
Yeah.
ever been drafted
you
in
just
the
had the
history of the
right
world.
group of people at the right time.
But even
And
with
they
that,
and they
I still have
fought
a
for
hard time believing that when you read the Constitution and you see that they covered every base you possibly think of, except for term limits, which they debated that, but term limits was like, who would want to go to Congress? They don't want to be there very long because they want to come back and tend their farms and make money and stuff. So they don't want to be there that long. So that's why we don't have term limits. Otherwise, they probably would have put it in there had they known that we would make it into a career.
Well,
You
in
know,
regards to actually, what were you just, what did I just for, oh, covering every base you just said.
yeah,
So the Constitution originally, when it was like in the Federalist Papers, Hamilton explained that you wouldn't even need a Bill of Rights because we covered everything in.
yeah,
But in order to get the Constitution passed, they had to make a compromise with the Bill of Rights. But
right.
originally, he thought that there was enough there in the Constitution as it was that we wouldn't even need that.
and
The
you look even
funny thing
before the
is how it
Constitution.
still is relevant today and fits our country perfectly is that it's so relevant today and it still encompasses everything. Again, I just have a hard time believing that they could actually have been that smart back then, and we're so dumb today.
The advent of technology has been a blessing and a curse for us,
Yeah,
because the more technology that we've come across, the dumber our generations have become, because they've become so dependent and reliant upon technology to give them the answers to everything that they don't have to critical think anymore.
yeah,
And even if we go before the Constitution um the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union, that document was nearly flawless.
yeah.
I mean, they really covered, as you said, every base, and they left a lot up to interpretation, so that if we had challenges and things like the Roe versus Wade situation,
Right.
that you would be able to vote for that on a state basis. And if Congress wanted to make it a law, they could have made it a law. They could have done that a long time ago, but they never wanted to do that.
Right.
They wanted to have something to vote on. I think Rhett brought up what the Supreme Court justice who wrote the opinion about it when Roe v. Wade first got passed all those years ago, that all it was going to do was
Oh, yeah.
cause confusion.
Justice Rehnquist, the dissenting opinion. That's exactly what he said. It's going to leave this area of law more confused than it found it.
Right. Yeah.
So going
Again,
back to talking about the issues here within the coast, because I do hope that this will go on around the country, but I mean the coast is where we're from, so that's what we're focused on. That's what we really want to help do some change here. So other than education, what do you see as another one of the big hurdles that we need to overcome here on the coast? Because education is I agree, that's number one, because we have to educate our young people on how to get involved and how to be smart and not book smart, because you can only learn so much from a book, but you have to be able to
right.
apply that with that wisdom in ways that reduce the risk to you and your family. So what else do you see to be something as a pivotal point down here on the coast that the conservative candidate caucus can really dive into to get people um, supporting the party?
Well, I think, again, like I said, besides education, we need to try to lift people out of poverty. So, we need to start working on Mississippi's last in everything, or first in the worst things. We need to take and actually get candidates out there that are business oriented. Myself personally, I'm still trying to attract businesses to Mississippi. I'm working with businesses here in Mississippi to try to expand their reach throughout the country and stuff. It would be nice if we could get officials, candidates that actually have a business background, that understand the checks and balances and, what you need to do to run a business. Because again, when I ran for Congress, they told me, like, federal congressmen, they shouldn't be worried about bringing business to Mississippi. And I always said, what's funny is Donald Trump was a federal official, and he spent a lot of time trying to bring business back to America. As a congressman, I would push bringing businesses to Mississippi. We need to get conservatives out there that understand the philosophy of business so that we can bring new business to Mississippi. Why is it that we had like Amazon, Tesla?
We lost that deal.
Yeah, Tesla. People say, oh, well, we got their distribution center. So what we ended up getting was Amazon's cheapest labor. But Tesla, or the chip company in Ohio, they're going to spend $10 billion in Austin for Tesla. Why didn't we try to get that? We have a lot to offer here. I told everybody, as a business person, I can go sit, and like to this day, I'll be in 2 weeks, I'll be in Monterey, California, sitting across the leadership for the biggest food service company in the United States. They do $80 billion a year. And I'll be working on a deal for those guys for $500 million. But what's funny is I have no problem with that. I'm not the least bit anxious about it. I'm not the least bit excited about talking to them and stuff. But again, it's business. We need people that are for business background that can go out and talk to these people. I could sit down with Elon Musk and I could tell him, say, look, you could be a star in Mississippi. You can make Mississippi shine. You see where we are. You put that plant in Lucedale, Mississippi. Instead of $10 billion in Austin, you'll spend $1 billion putting it in. You save $9 billion already. You could take, even if you had to bring most of your people over there. But in Austin, you buy $1 million house, you got an okay house. If it's in Lucedale, $1 million house is going to give you a mansion on 5 acres. You can build your own country clubs, your own golf courses. We got all the land in the world out there. Electricity's cheap, water's cheap, and you're less than an hour away. You're from the Gulf Coast with casinos, restaurants. You're working 5 days a week. Well, that weekend you could be down on the Gulf Coast. And just think of the money it would bring to the Gulf Coast. Condos, houses down here on the Gulf Coast. And I can't imagine, I could sit across from him and say, like, look, you would be the hero of that area.
Yeah.
In Austin, you're just another company. You're a big company, but you're just another company. But you're the anchor there. Anything you want, you got.
I seen on the news that there were some businesses that are supposed to be coming to D'Iberville, some big sports centers.
Yeah.
Are supposed to be coming over here. But I'm a little concerned about the length and time of which is going to actually come here, because you take a look at Mississippi, for example, the construction that we've been doing on the roads in D'Iberville and the roads over here, and how long it's been going, and still 10 years, 13 years later, we're still working on the same stretch of road.
Yeah.
And I've been saying the same thing for a long time, and I have no real business acumen, no real business background. I've worked in the financial industry. I didn't plan on it. It just kind of fell on me. I lost my job, and some people from Primerica Financial Services took me under the reins and showed me the world of finance that I never was privy to, and I learned a lot about it. But I've always been saying, why is it that we have the Mississippi River? It shares our name, and
Right.
we aren't using that as a port that we can do a significant amount of trade through there.
Right.
Louisiana's getting more business out of that river than we
Right.
are. We have a wonderful port down here on the coast that can be expanded. We have a lot, as you said, lots of land, lots of things down here are much cheaper to produce. Timber is readily available
Yeah.
down here, and Mississippi has been so business unfriendly.
Yeah.
They've talked about now getting rid of the state income tax, which they still haven't done,
No.
which would attract business. But we have the mayors, the local officials, the governor. None of them have done anything to try to bring business to Mississippi. And
No.
I believe that Mississippi should be and could be the Silicon Valley of the South because
Look at
because of everything that
Tennessee,
we have here.
Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, going gangbusters. Alabama, Mississippi. We've got a lot to offer. I just don't think our elected officials know how to offer it. My background in business, had I become a congressman, I would spend most of my time when I wasn't in Congress in DC. I would spend most of my time talking to businesses to come to Mississippi, because again, I can sell Mississippi. Because like I said, if Amazon or Tesla were in Lucedale, selling point, you're hour and a half away, you're in New Orleans. Hour away, you're on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Hour and a half away, you're in Mobile. 2.5 hours away, you're in Florida. How could you not like that? Your whole crew, all your business associates could do whatever they wanted all over our coast. And to tell you the truth, when people come down here, which I see it on an everyday basis, when people come down here, they don't know Mississippi. And they're like, we've got more people from Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota moving down here you can shake a stick at. And you know what they say is like, wow, we didn't know this was down here. Why don't our representatives go out and see these companies and go like, this is down here. Austin has nothing, just a bunch of damn liberals. Come down here. You got people that will support you. You got a patriotic state, and you got people that will appreciate you being here. You're not going to get that from Austin, Tennessee, or Georgia. You'll be much more appreciated. And I can tell you, I could sit across from Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, any of those guys. Say, look, this is where you got to be. Why do you think you have to be? Even in New York, nowadays, you don't have to be in that big city to have a business anymore. It's all done like we're doing now over the internet. I work from home. I run 3 businesses from home. I can be wherever I want to be to work. So again, why wouldn't you give them the best quality of life they can get? Traffic in Austin, gonna be horrible when they move there. Atlanta, Georgia, oh my God, that is the worst place to be. Nashville now, not so great. Mississippi, in a worst traffic jam, I can still get to Gulfport in 45 minutes. How you can't sell that? We have so much to offer. And to me, we don't have people out there offering it. And the biggest problem is they don't have the business background. They don't understand what businesses are looking for. They think they're just looking for money. Well, give me tax breaks. Well, everybody can do that. But give them a reason to move there. Austin, I've been there. I don't want to live there. That's not a place I'd move my business to. I've got a business in Dallas. My business in Dallas is so far north of Dallas, we don't consider it Dallas. It's in Farmersville, but it's a little town up there. I have a business up there. I have an office up there. I have a bunch of people that work for me up there. But, it's not in Dallas. Again, these big companies feel they need to be in these big cities because these big cities go out there and woo them and get them to come there. Austin, Nashville, Atlanta. I tell you what, they got nothing on us down here. You look at this coast down here, we got fishing, we got everything you could possibly want. So how you can't sell that, I just don't understand.
I have trouble understanding it too, because uh, one of the biggest issues trying to get rid of the poverty down here is the fact that job opportunities are few and far in between, and the rate at which a person can actually climb the ladder in careers down here is almost non-existent. You know, uh, well, you offer some of those incentives here for those companies, and you can start people. They don't even have to pay the same rate that they would be paying in a place like California or
Right?
New York, because it's much cheaper to live down
Yeah.
here. You come down here and you pay somebody a $50,000 salary down here. That money is worth well over 80,000 over there in
Right.
California.
Oh yeah. Well, it's probably in California is well over 100,000, if not better.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean,
especially
again, the
now with
thing
the
is,
inflation rates.
that's what I'm saying. In Austin, you buy $1 million home, you don't have nothing more than just a regular home. If your business had moved to Lucedale, Mississippi, and you built $1 million home, you actually got yourself one big ass home on a lot of acreage. And how you could not want that over living in Austin and sitting in traffic to go into town when you could go down to these fine casinos we have, eat at the best restaurants in the world, and you're in Mississippi. That to me is what any company that's worth their salt would say, like, well, that's an idea. We have to look at that. And as a business person, I think I could sell that. Had I got to Congress, I think I could have sold that to a lot of these guys. I'm still working on them. I'll be in California in 2 weeks, and I'm working on trying to get a bunch of my guys over there that plant citrus to try to look at Mississippi, because we can plant anything here. We can grow anything.
Oh yeah,
And
my
if we do
grandmother
it, if we do
was
it
talking to me
commercial wise,
today.
like they do in California, we could have commercial crops of lemons, limes, oranges,
Oh yeah,
but nobody's ever tried to do it here.
yeah. I was talking to my grandmother not too long before I started the show, about the garden at the house. The fig tree is
Mm-hmm.
just they're just falling off the vine.
Yeah.
The scuppernong and muscadine trees are falling off the grind. The lemons and pears that she has, they're just blooming everywhere. We even were able to get bananas on our old banana tree,
Yes.
and people are like, "Oh, you wouldn't be able to get bananas in
Pears,
Mississippi."
apples, pineapple, everything grows down here.
Yeah, we have such fertile soil. I mean, this is, you think people think you have to be in Ohio to
Yeah.
be able to produce that, or be in Idaho to be able to get the potatoes and stuff. Mississippi, as far as agriculture is concerned, it's really the cream of the crop. It can do
Oh yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
We get enough precipitation down here, and our soil is very good down here, that we are pretty much able to sustain just about any
That's
type
what I'm
of
talking about. That's what I'm still working
produce.
on. I'm trying to get some of these guys to come down here and experiment with building orchards and stuff down here. Even not being a congressman, I'm still trying to get that done. So, but like I said, had I been elected, it would give me a little more clout. I could be offer a little bit more, but as a private citizen, I'm still going to do it. I'm still going to try to get it done. Because again, we have so much to offer down here. Just you have to understand business to know who to offer it to.
So earlier you mentioned that one of the big things with the Super PAC is grassroots movement.
Right.
And so I understand the grassroots movement is really the way to go when we want to try to change people's lives
Right.
down here on the coast, really anywhere that you go. How are you guys going to go about doing that? I mean, what's the plan?
Well, I'm actually, to tell you the truth, I'm meeting with people from North Mississippi here Friday morning for lunch that are going to work on expanding our PAC up in the Northeast region, in the Jackson region. I'm meeting with people all the time. I'm going to be going all over the state. We're going to try to have a presence in every county in Mississippi and develop our our caucus to get as many people involved as possible so that we can be a force for Mississippi. In other words, we'll have people out there that we can actually, when we're trying to get a candidate elected, we can go out there and utilize our grassroots effort. We'll put a database together. We'll know everybody. We'll actually interact with all these people. We'll have groups that interact with them. We'll put together clubs, all this stuff, so that we can have people that are easily accessible in a campaign. So when we want to get a conservative elected in Neshoba County, hopefully we'll have enough people up there to get out there and canvass, to get out there and push, to try to get our candidate elected. If it comes to a statewide election, if we've got representation in every county, we can be a force to reckon with in a statewide election. So in other words, we'll get a conservative elected because we'll have people in every county that's going to be working with us, and for the conservative movement. So if you come in and you're running for Senate against a Roger Wicker, Cynthia Hyde-Smith, and you're a true conservative, and we've got a basis in every county to actually reach voters, we get them out so you can compete against a Roger Wicker that has $8 million to spend, and that's what we need. We need to be able to compete to a level that doesn't cost as much money so that we can get people in all these areas elected to Congress, House of Representatives, state Senate, lieutenant governor, whatever it is. We need to be able to help those guys get elected through our grassroots movement. And that's what we're going to work on. We're going to put that together. And like I say, we're going to go all over the state. We're going to try to organize as much as we can. We're going to try to get people in every county. We're going to work our butt off because we want to make a difference. We want conservatives to win. We want to take back our education system. We want to actually push our representatives and senators and everybody else in our state to put a punishment for ethics violations that fit the crime. Right now, if you commit an ethics violation, you apologize, they do nothing about it. I mean, I've talked to candidates that are running for higher offices here, and I tell them, we'll support you, but this is one thing I'm passionate about: corruption in politics. We need to have punishment for ethics violations, because when you go to Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives, the governor, you should be clear of corruptions. You should be the cleanest person out there. I still don't understand it. This should be a service. Any of our politicians should be serving the people that elected them. Quit going to office to get rich. If you can't do that in private service, don't make us pay for it. You need to serve the people that voted for you and stick to what you promised. That right there is what the number one thing the congressional or the conservative candidate caucus will be pushing. We want people to be accountable for what they do. And if we're gonna help you and you become corrupt in 2 years, we'll be right there to support the guy behind you. And all the people that we work with, we also try to tell them is like, look, we'll work with you if you get elected as a conservative. What we need to do as conservatives is help the next conservative out. Don't go there and say like, well, I'm elected. I don't want to help this guy because if he loses, it's going to look bad on me. No, it doesn't matter win, lose, or draw. We always support the conservative. I don't care who you're running against. We support the conservative. And I'm not going to apologize about that. If you're a friend of mine and you got elected, no matter who you are, it doesn't matter. If you aren't a conservative, you change, you fall in with the swamp, we'll be right there to take you back out. That's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. Another quick question here. We talk about getting the young people involved, and I think that might be probably the most challenging part of any movement is trying to get young people involved. What plans do you have to try to incentivize young people to be more attentive to what's going on? Because, like you said earlier, we're going to be shouldering the burden of this for years to come. So, how do we get those young people to get involved in this?
You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to push people like Rhett and DeAndre to get out there and recruit and push young people. But we're going to look at other ways. We're going to try to get young Republican parties in high schools, in colleges. We're going to try to, push as much as we can to get young people involved. Because again, with so much misinformation in schools and stuff, we've got to counteract that with the truth. We've got to I tell my daughters all the time, this is the truth. You have to look at the truth. Look at what's happening. We have to get young people involved. We've got to show them that the reason the Republican Party, again, with the miseducation that we're getting right now, they think Republican Party is a party of racists, which is just the opposite. None of these bills would have ever been passed, a civil rights bill. None of these things in the 60s would have been passed had it not been for Republicans. The Democrats fought against it. And the funny part is people try to say, well, there was a switch in the party back in the 60s.
Oh, I've been fighting against that for the longest time.
Well, there was actually Democrats that were unhappy, turned into Dixiecrats. And, that's where they say that, there was a switch because Democrats turned into Dixiecrats, which turned into Republicans. Well, at one point, there was 1,500 Dixiecrats. And out of 1,500, all but 12 went back to becoming Democrats. The other 12, because they were fighting against segregation, civil rights, and they didn't see Dixiecrats as doing it. So they went back as Democrats. The other 12 went as Republicans, one of them being Strom Thurmond. But there never was that change. They keep saying that. And it really never happened. Like I told people, so, if it switched back in the 60s, why did it take till, 2000 and when we get our first Republican governor here in Mississippi?
That was in 1996.
Was it 96 or 2000?
It was 96. I went back. I went back and I did the math because I wanted to find out too. And
who was it?
I can't remember whose name it was. I just remember from my research that I did, I went to look at when did Mississippi as a whole first get a Republican senator, a Republican House representatives, and a Republican governor. And I found 96 to be the answer, but I can't remember the name. I just went.
Actually, the first Republican congressman from Mississippi was back in 1865.
Well, other than that, I meant the after the civil rights.
Right.
After they supposed switch happened.
Right.
I went and I tallied every single year from then up to now, and you know what I found was that for the entirety of the South, the first time that the entire South voted Republican was in 2016 for Donald Trump.
Right.
Georgia. I think Georgia was one of the last ones to come over. They're still pretty much a toss-up state, purple state, really.
Right.
But they
Fordyce, Kirk Fordyce.
In 98,
what year was that?
1992 to 2000.
Okay. Yep, I see that. Yeah.
And then you take a look. We're
moving back to Democrat.
You take a look at everything that's been going on down here. When I leave the state of Mississippi to go to states like Texas, and I went to go to Texas, I go as far north. I went to New York. I went to to Florida to pretty much from Paris Island all the way over to San Antonio, as far west as I've been. Um, I never ran into racism here in Mississippi, but when I went over to Texas, when I went over to New York, I saw it everywhere. But it
Oh yeah,
wasn't coming from white folks. It was
yeah,
coming from black folks. I remember I was riding in the car, uh, and they have a radio show over there. It was a black owned radio show, telling black people not to vote because this isn't their country. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This is the reason why we can't get anything done, because we have all
right.
this confusion going on there. And I think that's the another challenge for our young people, because they're so ignorant to
Yeah,
history, and they're so ignorant about what's going on politically,
right.
that you see
Well,
the videos
they
all the
believe in what
time.
the news media tells them. They believe in what social media tells them and stuff. And I can tell you, the most racist part of the United States right now is the Northeast, because
Yeah,
there's such
Northeast
a
and
limited amount of black people up there.
the
That
Northwest.
I,
Northwest too, yeah. But I
I
mean,
can confirm that as well. I went to the University of New Haven in
yeah,
Connecticut, and it was definitely. I've also lived in Arizona as well, but Mississippi is by far, as far as I have experienced, the least racist place
yeah,
I've lived. The worst was Connecticut.
yes, that's right.
Yeah,
A bunch
that's
of
the same
rich
thing I
white
feel.
people,
Yeah.
and you will hear more racial slurs there than anywhere. Well,
Well, that's
especially
because
the
they got no
coast.
black people there, so they feel sorry for them all over the
Yeah,
country and stuff. But they
yeah,
have no population of black.
they
But the
they
funny
think of
part
us
is,
as as animals, as some different species that needs to be
yeah,
pampered to.
yeah,
And
Yeah, yeah, it's the bigotry of low expectations. That's
yeah,
yeah,
exactly what, and
it
that's
really is.
how a lot of I lived on the Navajo reservation in Arizona, uh, one of the most racist places ever
yeah,
from the natives. I mean, because that's all that lives. Well, I actually lived on the reservation, but my dad was a missionary out there for a long time, and a lot of the attitude of people who would go on like short-term mission trips out there was, oh, we got to go help the poor Indians because they
yeah,
can't do it themselves. It's
right.
just the bigotry of low expectations. They don't expect
Yeah.
much out of them.
No,
So
the same thing
Yeah,
that
and
I'm
th-
gonna
and then
say.
and then the young people, they feed into the same stereotype, and
Yeah,
they just reaffirm these people's ideas. And then
yeah,
you see the videos from Project Veritas, Jesse Waters. They go
yeah,
around, they ask the questions, and they give these quotes, and they tell them that the quotes came from Republican, and
right.
then at the
Yeah,
end they tell them these quotes came from your beloved Democrat.
that's right.
And
Yeah,
they got the old deer in the headlights face. They're sitting there like, I didn't know that, but it makes sense, and it just baffles me.
well, it does. And I tell
Because
you what, I got a story here that I was up in DC visiting my daughters here last summer, and we were going somewhere, and there was a Nationals game going on. And right by the stadium, there was a low income apartment complex. And there was groups of black people that had their tents set up there, their barbecues on the sidewalks. They're barbecuing, watching the football games and stuff. And I said, look at this. These long lines of white people would come to that block, then they'd cross the street, go around them, and come back. Me, being a good old boy from Mississippi, well, I walked right up that street, stopped at every one of those tents, bullshitted with them, had a great time with them. They invited me to stay and watch the games with them and stuff. Because I would have my LSU hat on or Ole Miss hat or something. And then, I'd start giving them crap and, oh man, you crazy and stuff. And, and then I'd move on to the next one as we're walking by, having a good old time, not the least bit afraid of them. But you can tell all these white woke liberals from DC, black people, let's cross the street. Oh, we need to give them more
that
money.
that really is how they think.
Oh, it is. It's hilarious. I told my brother and my daughters, who unfortunately are liberals, I told them, look
They'll
at
come
that.
around.
I said, look at that. White woke liberals crossing the street because they're afraid of the black people. We had a good time. I could have spent the day there with them, having hot dogs and sausage and gumbo and stuff. But no, the white people cross the street, get away from them. But yet it's like, oh, we got to do something to help them. Well, why don't you talk to them? Why don't you become friends with them? Invite them over. Why don't you actually associate yourself with them? But no, 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 no. They need help, but just not from us. It's like Pelosi. Well, walls don't work. Oh, except for around my house, they work. But again, this is the way Democrats and liberals think. Oh, no, 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 no. We want to help them, but we don't want to talk to them. We don't want to go over and see them. But I grew up, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, I never saw a difference. My wife is a gorgeous Hawaiian. But what's funny is, unless she says she's Hawaiian, I don't look at her at anything except for my gorgeous wife. There's no color assigned to her. There's no ethnicity. She's just the same gorgeous girl I grew up with and love and been married to for 30 years.
That's what I tell people all the time too. I say the way I look at it, I'm a child of God first.
That's right.
An American second. I'm black last. My color shouldn't have to come into play with anything else. If I have done the work to prove myself qualified, that's all that needs to be done.
I tell people, in my business, I owned a business in Picayune, Mississippi, and I had over 100 employees. The majority of my managers and supervisors were black. Now, it wasn't about because I had to have black people to get my quota in. They were the best people for the job. And it was hard to explain to them that, no, you're the boss. Well, I can't fire that guy. He's a white guy. No, 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 no. You can fire him. That's your job. I said, if he's not doing what you tell him to do, go get rid of him. I said, I didn't hire you as a supervisor for me to have to do your job. You were the best person for the job. I don't care if you're white, blue, black, gray, pink, or whatever, gay, transgender. If you're the best person for the job and you prove it, it's your job. And again, that's what America is supposed to be about. We don't need to have a quota. I didn't need a quota to have black people as my managers. They were the best people for the job. Tell you the truth, the worst people for the job were the damn white trash here in Mississippi. They were the worst. They stole me blind, did drugs on the job, never showed up. I mean, again, I grew up white trash. Not that bad of white trash, but, again, it was one of those things that, in your business, it's always, no matter who they are, it's the best person for the job. It's like when United or Delta was saying, like, we need to have a more diverse pilot program. We need more black pilots. I'm like, what's funny is I don't give a shit what color you are. I want the best pilot.
I like that. That to me just rings again what represents bigotry of low expectations
and stupidity.
They lowered the standards for the pilot exams because black people apparently weren't smart enough to be a pilot. They lowered the standards for firefighters' jobs. They lowered the standards for the police officer's job. Why would you want somebody who can't pass the exam to be flying the airplane? Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I don't want to be on that airplane. I hate to say it, I'm not racist, but if I look at a black pilot, I'm gonna think like, God, I hope this is one of those.
And that's the problem.
Yeah,
we will always question whether they're qualified just because they're black because of those policies.
Because they say we need more black people. Doesn't matter if they're qualified. Well, I'm pretty sure, especially in that position, I'll be racist. Because if you ain't qualified, I don't care. I don't want you flying that freaking plane.
I look at Biden's administration, the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Yeah, she might be brilliant. I don't think she is, but she might be. But she gets completely screwed because they picked her because of her color. Karine Jackson, whatever the hell her name is, his new press secretary.
Oh yeah,
the most unqualified person ever. But they picked her because she checked the black box and she checked the gay box.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they put her in there, and she sucks. I mean, I didn't think you can get worse than Jen Psaki. And then here comes this broad in there. I mean,
Yeah.
let me change. Let me be nice. I'm not gonna call her a broad, but you get this chick. She comes up in there, and she's worse by a mile, and she makes black people look bad as a result.
Oh yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
Unprepared, and again, that's the trouble is, you can't check a box. If I'm not the best person for a job and I don't get it, and trust me, I have been in jobs before where I didn't get them because I wasn't the best person. Well, because I was white, it's because I wasn't the best person. My white privilege didn't help me out a bit. I got fired from a convenience store job when I
I
was
think I got a lot
19.
more privilege than you do.
Do
Black
now.
privilege is a real thing.
Oh yeah. Like I'm
But
saying, I missed out on all that white privilege, because I had to work my butt off to get to where I was. I worked 7 days a week from the time I was 24 till I was 40, anywhere from 80 to 100 hours a week. Now, if that's white privilege, I hope everybody else gets that same privilege. Sure, I made a lot of money, but I learned every job in the company, worked my way from the bottom to the top, but I put my time in.
exactly.
And like I tell everybody, if you've got the initiative and you want the work, you can be anything you want. I come from a poor ass background. No incentive from my family to be a success. I did that on my own, and I worked my way from the bottom to the top, learned everything, ran $1 billion company. I made the decisions for it, not even a high school graduate. So it goes to show you hard work is very important,
It really
and you
is.
can be anything you want to be. And trust me, if I had white privilege, I must have forgot what to do with it because I worked my butt off to get where I am. I still work 7 days a week and I have no problem with it. It's part of my job. I work in produce. It's a 7-day week job.
So another quick question for you. During your time as a candidate, it's a two-part question. Number one, what was the most shocking revelation that you saw as a candidate? And then follow up with that, what was the most encouraging thing that you saw as a candidate?
Well, the most shocking thing is that the lack of effort from people to actually learn the candidates, to actually talk to a candidate, to actually know, this is why I say we need debates, because, I can tell you anything on my commercial. That doesn't mean it's true.
Of your commercials on YouTube.
Right. But I mean, I can tell you anything, any candidate can, doesn't mean it's true. My best times and the greatest accolades I got was the forums where people asked us questions and stuff. Because unlike all the other candidates, I could not only answer the question, I could give you the solution to it. Because I have a background in all that stuff. Not to disparage the other candidates, but a lot of them didn't even know what the question was. And not just
I did notice that about you at the forums. I wrote it down in my notebook actually, because I always take it with me when we go there. You utilized your time very wisely, especially because of the way the forums were set, where they would ask certain individuals questions and then they'll ask the other individuals other questions. But you always took the time to go back and ask the question, answer the question that you weren't allowed to answer before.
right.
And I thought that was genius, because it gave everybody the ability to get an answer more than
Right.
what was given. And me and Rhett, we, I've decided that I was going to expand this beyond a podcast and make a media website out of this company here that I've decided to create. I got to get the money and stuff raised up for it, but because the fact that the local media did not come down to any of the debates, to put it on television, anything. I mean, you didn't get to see a debate between any of the candidates until after the primary. And then when the runoff was the only debate that you actually got to see was between Palazzo and Ezel. And I I didn't like that at all, because I went there, and the first thing I said to Rhett when we went there, and I said, where are the cameras at?
Yeah.
Why is there nobody here filming this so that people can see? And we showed up, had our cameras. Phones have a limited battery life, so we're the only ones that have
Right.
video evidence of these forums.
Well, that's what I mean. And, to tell you the truth, there's so much apathy out there with voters and stuff that, again, we didn't get enough people to come out and vote. But the trouble is, again, the amount of people that had no information on any candidates. So they would like somebody because they like their name, their look. They didn't investigate who they were, where they come from. They didn't get to see how they answered any questions. They just, again, it was one of those things that it's a shame. We actually need debates. A lot of these forums we went to, like the one here in Hancock County, when after answering all the questions, all of his guys came off. Well, the mayor, when I talked to her, she goes, wow, everything you said is 100% right. Said you answered every question 100% right. Another forum, when I was leaving it, the guy comes up and goes, the only guy that could answer these questions and stuff. And again, I'm not blowing my own horn, but I have over 40 years experience of business. I know all these issues. And the candidates, and I'm not disparaging any of them, two of them, their whole experience were police officers. One's a banker. One is, career politician and a lawyer, which, never mind, I won't bring that up. And then we had a machinist. So, I mean, I'm the only one that had the full-blown experience of everything. And the fact that I had people think that, I'm an elitist because I financed my own campaign and I earned a lot of money. Well, yes, but I gave up a lot of money. Money doesn't mean that much to me. When I built that company in Seattle, I retired in 2000 because I didn't want my daughters to grow up in Seattle. So I brought them back to Mississippi when they were 2 and 5, and they enjoyed a great life. And I was up in Seattle a couple of years ago, and my old boss, the guy that owned the company, says, boy, I bet you wish you would have stayed. You'd be worth $40 to $50 million right now. I'm like, no, I'm happy. So the money didn't matter. I mean, when I left there, I left private jets, first class everything. And I came back down here and started all over again, working 100 hours a week, 7 days a week, to build another company. Because money didn't mean as much. Had I wanted money, I would have stayed in Seattle. But to me, there's more to life, and you can only spend so much money. I mean, I still make good money doing what I'm doing right now. I give a lot of it away. I do a lot of charitable work. I have on my own 501c3. Even this candidate caucus right now, I'm the one financing it, until we start getting donations and stuff. But again, I believe in what I'm doing, and it's not about the money. It's the reason why, had I got to Congress, I couldn't have been corrupted. If I wanted the money and the power, I'd have stayed in my job in Seattle. But it didn't mean that much to me. What means a lot to me is my family. And to tell you the truth, now, what means a lot to me is I've been 40-something years in business. I would like to actually do something to help our people. As corny as it sounds and as cliche as it sounds, my whole goal was to get something done for South Mississippi, pull us up where we're not number 50 in everything or number 1 in the worst things. But the trouble is, people don't want that. People are more worried about, I like this guy because he's pretty. I'm not as polished as these other guys, and I'll get in an argument with you because, again, I'm not a politician. If you want to argue with me, I'll argue with you. And I did that on the campaign trail. But the thing is that, what I believe, I believe. And if you don't like it, well, I'm sorry. But, I'm about getting something done. If I hurt your feelings because you don't agree with me, well, unfortunately, there's a goal. And the goal is to make life better for everybody else. As boy, I just said that, and that is so cliche.
That's the same thing. The same thing for me. Rhett's got to go to bed, so we're gonna get
Good
get
night,
close
Rhett.
to ending here too. But um, that was the same thing for me when I first decided to put my hat in the race back in 2020. Um, COVID happened, kicked me out of the race because I said I was going to run on the independent ticket because I was afraid if I ran as a Republican, I didn't know about the Constitution Party at the time,
Right.
and the Constitution Party isn't really all that big down here.
No.
But I was
What were you
afraid if I
running
ran
for?
as a Republican, I was running for Congress, and I was afraid that if I was going to run on a Republican ticket, I was going to lose all of the black vote.
Right.
And I couldn't run as a Democrat. So I was going to run on the independent ticket, which is a lot of work.
Yeah.
You have to get the signatures, raise the money,
Yeah.
then send it in there. And when COVID happened, it knocked me out of the race because I couldn't go door to door anymore.
Right.
And so then I started this podcast to try to get out there more, to compensate for the fact that I had lost my vehicle, so I couldn't go the way that I wanted to. And so I would go from store to store, leaving my petitions there. And a lot of times people would come in and they would tell me, I'm a Republican, I can't sign your petition.
Right.
I'm a conservative, I can't sign your petition. I'm like, well, give me a chance.
Yeah.
We have some of the same viewpoints. I was just afraid to lose an entire voter base because of the party affiliation. But now I reckon now I'm like, I don't care about all of that anymore.
No.
It,
Well, you
it you
shouldn't.
know
I mean, you got to be who you
it,
are. I mean, again,
it's
if you have a good message, like I say, win or lose, you have to get your message out there. You have to work as who you are. If you lose, it's like people said, well, you must be depressed because you lost. No, I'm not. I mean,
yeah,
I
and
knew going in that I might not win, and
my thought was that I didn't run to win. I didn't run to lose.
right,
But my biggest victory was getting people to talk about the ideas, getting people to pay attention. That was what I wanted to do. That's why I wanted to run on a different party ticket, to show that there's other ideas out there. It's time for you to do your research and figure out who's the best one for you,
but
which
you weren't
party
running
best
for
represents you.
Congress, the U.S. Congress, were you?
Yeah,
Really?
I just didn't. I wasn't able to get
Oh,
on the
okay, okay.
ballot.
So you never got on the
Uh,
ballot. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I had to drop out as once COVID happened. That crushed my finances because they want you to raise so much money
Oh yeah,
from unique
yeah.
donors with the FEC, which I think is a load of crap too. But I wanted to just pay the money myself. And I was like, I could have done that, just pay the $500 to the Republican committee and
Right.
get on there. I wanted to try to do it grassroots to the independent ticket. And
Well, you should try running again for another office, and I'm not sure what
I'm
district you're
I've
in.
been thinking about it. I'm in District 4.
And-
But
No,
I've
I
been
mean,
thinking
what
about
district are you in, and for state?
for state District 4.
No, the state, like state rep or state senator. You know what
Uh,
district you're in?
no, I don't know what district I'm in for state. I
I would
know I'm down
suggest,
here.
as young as you are, I would suggest find out who your state rep is, and maybe start there. And again, true conservatives, that's what we're looking to support. So find out who your state rep is. We'll look into him. If he's not a true conservative, I'd have no problem trying to endorse you and help you, get
Well,
elected.
that'd be wonderful. But we're coming up to a close here because I want to end this neatly at 9 o'clock. I know you've got
Okay.
things to do. I've got things to do.
Yes,
So,
sir.
uh, on to the other part of the question. What did you find most encouraging about this tenure going into politics?
Well, the thing is even though you always looked when you were going to a function, you always, you looked at it as like, oh God. But, I met a ton of great people. I had a lot of people. I talked to a lot of people, and I met a lot of people that supported me, that even after the election, they're already calling me, telling me, you need to get right back into this for next time. We've got to get you up there and stuff. and they're very influential people and stuff. And I'm getting more and more of them coming to me, I've got to run again. But, I would say the best thing I did was I just met a bunch of wonderful people. I mean, I've met some people out there that are just, really the tops. I mean, in Ocean Springs, in Stone County, in Forest County, up in Jones County. I met people that, to tell you the truth, I'm still friends with, and I'll stay friends with them, even though I'm not running. And if I don't run again, I'll still stay friends with them. I communicate with them. They text me on Sunday morning, telling me God bless you. Again, I had at least a little bit of an impact on a bunch of people that are a good group of people that picked me over the other candidates because of my philosophy and my grit. And to tell you the truth, I think that was the most rewarding thing. I have friends today that I wouldn't have had I not run. And these people are good friends now. So I think that's the most rewarding part of running, And again, I don't get sad about losing. I mean, this is just like another business deal. If I don't win, I don't win. I move on. I keep going. So, but I really, really enjoyed the people. I wish I could have got elected because, I think I could have made them proud.
I found that to be one of the most encouraging things for me too, was the people that you meet along the way. And and it also encouraged me to find that there are people out there that are willing to change the way that they think if you're able to explain it to them in a way that makes sense.
I had people that were, great friends with other candidates that told me, Carl, I might be a good friend of his, but I'm still going to vote for you. And, I had a lot of those people that told me that. And to tell you the truth, to me, that is the most rewarding thing about running, is the fact that I made so many friends that no matter what I do, if I run again or I don't run again, we'll still be friends.
Absolutely. So, closing questions here. For people who want to get involved in this caucus of yours, how do they go about doing that? You have a website for them? I mean, how do they get involved?
Yeah, it's ccc-pac.com. That's the website. You can find us on Facebook. Same thing, ccc-pac on Facebook. And you can actually email me if you need information at cb@ccc-pac.com. And I answer all emails.
Okay. And I'm going to give you the last 3 minutes here. Is there anything, any updates, anything that you would like the viewers to know that we haven't discussed? I know we kind of went a little over time, but I wanted to ask you some questions on inflation, where you think that was going to go, how long was it going to last? But I definitely want to have you back on the show. We can talk about that on a later time, because I think your business acumen is going to be really valuable to a lot of our people here on whether they should invest or not. But on the last 3 minutes here, they're yours. What would you like to share with the viewers?
Well, again, I think my background, had I got to Congress, would have been a bonus, because I know all the supply chain issues. I deal in this every day. I know business inside and out. I know export, import. I know our trade agreements, logistics, warehousing, finance, So again, the contribution I could have made as if I got elected, I think would have been day one, something that most people can't do. I don't regret it. I'm happy I ran. I don't get depressed about it. I just move on. And I think the next vessel I'm going to be using is the conservative candidate caucus to go out there and push to get true conservatives elected. I mean, I believe in America. I love Mississippi. I love America. I'm a true patriot. And I believe that we can do better. And I'm really the most probably anti-politician out there because of the fact that I really don't trust most politicians. I think they're more self-serving than trying to serve our people. I mean, if you get elected to Congress or Senate or anything, your job is to make people's lives better, not make your own life better. I mean, Stephen Palazzo taught me the fact that, you get elected and you stay there a long time, you're part of the swamp. We're better than that. I'm better than that. I mean, I would be the only person I think being there possibly that would have never dipped his toe in the swamp. I mean, I don't need the money. I didn't need the power. What I really wanted to do was to utilize my experience to actually try to make Mississippi number one in everything. And I think I could have accomplished a lot had I been elected. So don't count me out. I might be back some other time in some other position, but right now the conservative candidate caucus, we're gonna fight hard to put conservatives in all positions. I appreciate everybody's support, and I appreciate you guys. You young guys got to get out there. I'm telling you. I expect to see you. I expect to see you at the Republican Club. I'm gonna invite you myself personally and buy you lunch.
Oh, it's a plan for me to be able to come and do that.
Okay.
I want to thank you again for joining with us here. I mean, we could talk to you for hours. You're so full of intel and information that is so helpful to the viewers, and all of the other candidates and things that we've interviewed. You guys are all great guys, and all
Right.
of you have different experiences that are actually able to help impact and change things. And regardless of who managed to win, I'm glad we're able to get Palazzo out of there
Me too.
because we needed change, and change
We need a
has to
lot of
come.
change. We need a
It
lot
has
of
to come.
change. Yes, sir.
But I want to thank you again for joining me. This is Carl Boyanton, uh, the what do I call you? The chair or president of the
CEO.
CPAC, the
Yeah.
CEO of this
Yeah.
of CPAC. You can find him at ccc-pac.com or email cb@ccc-pac.com. Again, thank you for joining me, and we're going to go ahead and end this show tonight.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
You have a good one.
You too.